Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. So today we are gonna talk about mole concept. First of all, we'll discuss the definition of mole. So we'll write the definition of mole as one mole is a collection of that many entities. One mole is a collection of that many entities as there are number of atoms. One mole is a collection of that many entities as there are number of atoms present exactly in 12 gram of C12 isotope. Atoms present exactly in 12 gram of C12 isotope. Let's again review this definition. So the definition of a mole is one mole is a collection of that many entities as there are number of atoms present exactly in 12 gram of C12 isotope. Just remember this simple definition. Also, we'll write that the number of atoms present in 12 gram of C12 isotope, the number of atoms present in 12 gram of C12 isotope is called as Avogadro number. Avogadro number is generally denoted by Na or even N0. So the number of atoms present in 12 gram of C12 isotope is Avogadro number, which is denoted by Na. The value of Na is 6.022 into 10 raised to power 23. This is very useful number. Remember it. Now moving further, we'll talk about unified mass or atomic mass unit. Both of these terms have the same meaning wherever it is written unified mass or atomic mass unit. Don't get confused, they both mean the same thing. Unified mass is denoted by U and atomic mass unit is denoted by AMU. U or AMU both are same. 1 U or 1 AMU is basically 1/12 of mass of one atom of C12. 1 U or 1 AMU is 1/12 of mass of one atom of C12. This can also be written as 1 gram divided by Na. 1 gram divided by Na, 6.022 into 10 raised to power 23. This is the value of Na, Avogadro number. On further solving, 1 U or 1 AMU will come out to be 1.66 into 10 raised to power minus 24 gram. So just remember this simple value. Wherever you have to convert unified mass into grams, we'll simply use this value. So if you know the definition, you can simply get this value. Now we'll talk about atomic mass and molecular mass. This is also an important term which is frequently used in mole concept. So I'll write the definition first. So atomic mass and molecular mass, it is mass of one atom and one molecule in AMU, in atomic mass unit. So mass of one atom and one molecule in atomic mass unit is atomic mass and molecular mass respectively. So mass of one atom and one molecule in AMU is called atomic mass and molecular mass respectively. Now we'll discuss an example so you better understand this definition. So I'll write an example here. We'll write for carbon and for oxygen, also for water, we'll write the atomic mass and molecular mass. Carbon, oxygen, water and carbon dioxide. For carbon, the atomic mass will simply be 12 AMU or 12 U. For oxygen, it will be 16 AMU. For water, the molecular mass will be 2 times 1 plus 16 times 1. It will come out to be 18 U or 18 AMU. And similarly for carbon dioxide, it will be 12 times 1 plus 2 times 16, which is 44 AMU or 44 U, right? You can also write a U instead of AMU. Now moving further, we'll talk about actual mass of atom and molecule. So I'll discuss the definition first, then we'll move to the example. So actual mass of atom and molecule. So the definition is the mass of an atom and molecule, the mass of an atom and molecule expressed in grams respectively. So for atom, it is mass of atoms expressed in grams, and for molecule, the actual mass is mass of molecule expressed in grams. Now we'll discuss the example for oxygen, ammonia, NH3. So for oxygen, it will simply be 16U. We'll convert it into gram because we have to find the actual mass, right? So 16 multiplied by 1.6 multiplied by 10 raised to the power minus 24 gram. We have discussed how to convert U into grams, right? So similarly for ammonia, it will be 14 plus 3 times 1. So it is 17U, and to convert into gram, we'll multiply it by 17 multiplied by 1.6 multiplied by 10 raised to the power minus 24 gram. So we got the actual mass of oxygen atom and ammonia molecule. Now we'll talk about relative atomic mass and relative molecular mass. Relative atomic mass and relative molecular mass. So we'll discuss the definition first. We'll write that mass of an atom or a molecule, mass of an atom or a molecule with respect to mass of an atom or a molecule with respect to 1/12 of mass of C12 atom. So this is the simple definition, that relative atomic mass and relative molecular mass is mass of an atom or a molecule with respect to 1/12 of mass of C12 atom. For atom, relative atomic mass; for molecule, relative molecular mass. Now we'll talk about we'll discuss an example here, like for carbon, for N2O. For carbon, we can write it simply as 12. For N2O, 2 times 14 plus 16 times 1, it will come out to be 44, right? So this is simple relative atomic mass and relative molecular mass for carbon and N2O respectively. Also, we'll write a note here that since relative atomic mass and relative molecular mass, since relative atomic mass and relative molecular mass are relative terms. Why they are relative? Because in the definition itself we can see we use the word with respect to, right? So it's a relative term. So since relative atomic mass and relative molecular mass are relative terms, therefore these terms are unitless. Basically, when we define these terms, when we'll write the final answer, we don't need to write the units. These are unitless terms. Now moving further, we'll talk about gram atomic mass and gram molecular mass. GAM, gram atomic mass, and GMM, gram molecular mass. So we'll discuss the definition first. We'll write that mass of 1 mole of an atom, mass of 1 mole of an atom or molecule is called gram atomic mass GAM and gram molecular mass GMM respectively. So this is the simple definition for gram atomic mass and gram molecular mass, that is mass of 1 mole of an atom or molecule is called GAM and GMM respectively. Now we'll discuss example here for Na. For Na and for NaCl, we'll write the gram atomic mass for Na, it will be 23 gram, and for NaCl the gram molecular mass will be 23 plus 35.5 grams. It will come out to be 58.5 gram. Hope you understand this simple term. Now we'll move further and we'll write that for elements we can write 1 gram atom is equal to 1 mole of atom, right? 1 gram atom is equal to 1 mole of atom, which is basically Na atoms, and gram atomic mass can be written as mass of Na atoms in gram, right? For elements we define gram atomic mass, right? Also we can write number of moles as given mass divided by given mass, which will be in grams, divided by atomic mass, which will be in gram per mole. We are discussing this because it's useful in solving problems. So small n, which is number of moles, is equal to small m divided by capital M. Small m is given mass, capital M is the atomic mass, which will be in gram per mole. Similarly, for molecules, we can write, we are discussing this just for problem solving purpose, we can write 1 gram molecule is equal to 1 mole of molecule, right? Which is basically Na molecules. 1 gram molecule is 1 mole of molecule, which can also be written as Na molecules. The gram molecular mass is basically mass of Na molecules in gram, right? Mass of Na molecules in gram. This is GMM. Also number of moles we can write for molecules. Number of moles is given mass, which will be provided in problems mostly, which will be in gram, divided by, for molecules we write molecular mass, right? So number of moles is given mass divided by molecular mass, which will be in gram per mole. So small n, which is number of moles, it will be small m divided by capital M, which is similar to what we discussed for elements. And here small n is basically number of moles. Small n is number of moles. Small n is number of moles of molecule. Small m is mass of molecule provided in the problem. This is generally provided in the problem, which is given mass. If it's not provided, you can simply use this formula. And capital M is mass of, or capital M is mass calculated with the help of periodic table, right? So this will be in gram per mole. Hope you understand this. Average molar mass or mean molar mass. Both the terms have the same meaning. We define it as the ratio of total mass and total moles. Such that M average molar mass is equal to total mass of all components divided by total moles of all components. Now the formula is M average is equal to M1 N1 plus M2 N2 plus M3 N3 plus up to n terms divided by N1 plus N2 plus N3 plus up to n terms. This is very important. In generalized form, we can write M average is equal to sigma mi ni divided by sigma ni. I is from 1 to n. M is for molar mass and n is for moles. Now we'll solve a problem. Calculate average molar mass for a compound having 75% of Cl35 and 25% of Cl37 in it. So the solution, we have two entities Cl35 and Cl37 with mole ratio of 75% and 25% respectively. Now apply the formula M average is equal to M1 N1 plus M2 N2 divided by N1 plus N2. Here only two components are present. Okay, so 35 into 75 by 100 plus 37 into 25 by 100 divided by 75 by 100 plus 25 by 100. On solving, we will get 35.5 as the answer. 35.5 grams M average. Now we will talk about density. What do we mean by density? In simple terms, density is defined as mass divided by volume. The unit for density is gram per milliliter ml. This is in general. Unit can also be kilogram per liter depending on the question. Now relative density. It is defined as the ratio of density of that substance divided by density of reference substance. Relative density of a substance is density of that substance divided by density of reference substance. We will write a note here that it is a unitless quantity. Since it's a relative term, therefore it's unitless. Now we will talk about vapor density. This is very important topic. Vapor density. Vapor density is the ratio of density of vapor to density of hydrogen at same pressure and temperature. Pressure and temperature. Vapor density is equal to density of gaseous substance, which is vapor, at some pressure and temperature, divided by density of hydrogen gas at same pressure and temperature. Pressure and temperature conditions should be the same to define vapor density. It is also unitless. We will write the formula for vapor density, which is molar mass divided by 2. This is very important formula. You need to remember it. Now we will see the proof of this formula. We know that by ideal gas equation, PV is equal to nRT. PV is equal to moles is given mass divided with molar mass into RT. Capital M here is the molar mass of substance. we can write P is equal to mass divided by V into RT divided by capital M. We know density. The formula of density is mass divided by volume. We will replace mass divided by volume as density into RT divided by capital M. We can write now density as Pm divided by RT. And for hydrogen we can write density of H2 is equal to P into molar mass of H2 divided by RT. Now continuing this on the next page, density of substance is P into molar mass of that substance divided by RT, and density of hydrogen is P into molar mass of hydrogen divided by RT. So molar mass of hydrogen is 2, so P into 2 by RT. Now we will write the formula of vapor density, which is Vd is equal to density of substance at some pressure and temperature divided by density of hydrogen at the same pressure and temperature condition. Putting the values, we have vapor density is equal to P times M divided by RT divided by P times 2 divided by RT, which will be M by 2, molar mass divided by 2. We are going to discuss about empirical formula. So empirical formula, it is the formula of a compound representing the simplest whole number ratio in which atoms combine to form the molecule. So empirical formula, it is the formula of a compound representing the simplest whole number ratio in which atoms combine to form the molecule. Here we will write a note, that is empirical formula of a compound is not unique. It is a very important note. We will discuss about it later. We will discuss more about it. Now the next thing is molecular formula. It is the formula of a compound representing the actual number of atoms that combine or which combine to form the molecule. Here we will write a note that molecular formula of a compound is unique provided no isomers exist. Now we will see examples. So we will draw 3 columns. In first one we will write the compound. Second one is for molecular formula of the compound MF, EF, empirical formula of the compound. First example is of formaldehyde. The formula of formaldehyde is CH2O. Molecular formula CH2O. Empirical formula will also be CH2O. Now the second example, it is of acetic acid. We know the formula, it is CH3COOH. Molecular formula is 2 carbon atoms, 4 hydrogen atoms and 2 oxygen atoms, C2H4O2. You can write simply as CH2O whole twice. Now for empirical formula, we know it is simplest whole number ratio. We will simply write CS2O. The next example is of glucose, C6H12O6. Molecular formula, you know C6H12O6. We can write it as CH2O whole thrice. And empirical formula, it will again be CH2O because it's simplest whole number ratio. Now we can observe here clearly that all the empirical formulas of these three compounds are same. So we can write the conclusion that molecular formula is unique, whereas empirical formula is not unique. And molecular formula is unique only in the case provided no isomers exist. So it's very easy, you can clearly determine the molecular formula and empirical formula. Now we will see the relation between molecular formula and empirical formula. So molecular formula is written as n times empirical formula. Here n is molecular weight divided by empirical weight, or simply you can write, n as molecular formula mass, which is molecular weight divided by empirical formula mass, which is empirical weight. Hello everyone, hope you all are doing very well. Today we are gonna discuss about determination of empirical formula from percentage composition. Empirical formula from percentage composition. For doing so, we will need few steps. You need to remember these steps. Step number 1, assume the given percentage composition to be equal to the weight of atom or molecule, depending on whichever is present in the problem. Step number 2, it is from the given weight, the weight which we calculated in step 1, from the given weight calculate moles of atom by dividing it by molar mass of element. If it is an atom, divide by molar mass of element. If it's a compound, divide by molar mass of the molecule. Okay, step number 3. Now we have calculated the moles. Now step 3, it is in step 2. Step 3 is related to step 2. So in step 2, if number of moles obtained are not in simplest whole number ratio, then multiply by a suitable factor to obtain the simplest ratio. In step 3 we need simplest whole number ratio. Now we'll see example, it will be very more clear. So example, find the empirical formula of compound having 60% of C atoms, carbon atoms, 8% of hydrogen atoms and the rest, which is 32% of oxygen atoms in it respectively. We need to calculate empirical formula, so we'll apply the concept which we learned earlier in 3 steps. So first of all, write the percentage of each one, which is 60%, 8% and 32% respectively for carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Now draw 2 columns, first carbon, then hydrogen, then oxygen. Write step number 1. So we need to assume it as the weight. We need to assume percentage as weight, 60 gram, 8 gram and 32 grams respectively. Step 2. Now find the moles. So divide by molar mass. It will be 5, here it will be 8, here it will be 32 by 16, which is 2. Now we can clearly see it is already in simplest whole number ratio, right? So step 3, there will be no need of step 3 because it's already in simplest whole number ratio, which is 5:8:2. So simply the empirical formula of this compound will be C5H8O2. This is the answer. It's very easy. Now we'll see. Now this is the empirical formula. Now we'll see one more example. This one will be a little tougher. Find empirical formula of compound having 28% of ASO4 and 72% of water in it respectively. This question is interesting one. Pause the video and solve it. Here molar mass of A is 16. Hope you have solved. Now we will solve it. ASO4, its percentage is 28%, water it is 72%. Molar mass of compound ASO4, it is 16 plus 32 plus 16 times 4, which is 112 gram per mole. Now we'll draw columns. First one is for ASO4, second is for water. We will write step number 1, which is assume percentage as the weight, simply 28 gram, here 72 gram. Step 2, calculate moles. So divide by molar mass, 28 divided by, we calculated molar mass which was 112. So it will be 1 by 4, here it will be 72 by 18, which is 4. Step 3, simplest whole number ratio. We can clearly see in step 2 that it is not in simplest whole number ratio, therefore step 3 is required. Ratio was 1 by 4:4. We will solve it further. ASO4 and here water, 1 by 4:4. Again write step number 3, so it will be more clear. Convert into simplest whole number ratio by multiplying by a suitable factor. Guess what is the suitable factor here? It is clearly 4. So 1 by 4:4, multiplying both sides by 4. So 1 by 4 into 4 is to 4 into 4. It will be 1:16. So the formula of the compound will be, empirical formula of the compound will be ASO4 H2O16. So this is simply the answer. Empirical formula of compound. So it's very easy topic. Hope you all understand this. Hello everyone. Today we are gonna talk about principle of atom conservation, also known as POAC. We will write about it. In a chemical reaction, if number of atoms are conserved, then number of moles of atom will also be conserved. This is the simple statement for POAC. If number of atoms are conserved, then number of moles of the atom will also be conserved. It's useful when we don't have any idea about balancing the chemical reaction. So when we don't know how to balance a chemical reaction, we'll use POAC simply. Now we'll further discuss about it. Explanation. We'll write that POAC, principle of atom conservation, is based on the law of conservation of mass. So it's based on law of conservation of mass. So simply we can write two statements here. First one is mass of atom of element in reactant will be equal to mass of atoms of element in product. Also, with the help of first statement, we can write that number of atoms of element in reactant will be equal to number of atoms of element in product. By using the statement 1 and statement 2, we can draw the conclusion that moles of atoms of element in reactant will be equal to moles of atoms of element in product. So this is the useful statement which we will use to solve problems. You need to remember this. Now we will solve a problem. Here KClO3 is heated and it decomposes into KCl and O2. So the problem is calculate moles of oxygen when 4 moles of KClO3 is heated. So we'll write the solution. For O atoms, we can write number of atoms of O in KClO3, which is on reactant side, should be equal to number of O atoms in oxygen, which is on product side. Apply POAC. It says if number of atoms are conserved, then number of moles will also be conserved. So apply POAC for oxygen O atoms. So we'll write moles of O atoms in KClO3 should be equal to moles of O atoms in O2. So moles of O atoms in KClO3 is 3 times moles of KClO3. 3 times because there are 3 atoms of oxygen in KClO3. Also here we will write 2 times moles of O2 because there are 2 atoms of O in O2. So 3 multiplied by 4 is equal to 2 into moles of oxygen. Therefore moles of oxygen will come out to be 6, and this will be the answer. Now we will solve another problem. Here 40 gram of A2 and 35 gram of B2 undergo the following reaction: A2 plus B2 giving AB plus AB3. Find number of moles of each product formed if molecular weight of A and B are 8 gram per mole and 5 gram per mole respectively. Solve by yourself. Now we will solve it. Here A2 plus B2 gives AB plus AB3. As per the reaction given, we can write moles of A2 is equal to 40 divided by 8 into 2 because there are 2 atoms of A in A2. So the moles will be 2.5. Now moles of B2, it will be the given weight is 35 divided by molecular weight is 5 multiplied by 2. It will be 3.5. Now we have to find moles of each product formed, means moles of AB and moles of AB3. So let's assume that moles of AB is equal to N1 and moles of AB3, which is another product, is equal to N2. We have to find these values N1 and N2. We will further solve it. We have A2 plus B2 giving AB plus AB3. This was the original reaction. Also, moles of A2, which we calculated earlier, moles of A2 and A2, which came out to be 2.5, and moles of B2, which is NB2, which came out to be 3.5. Also, we have to find out moles of AB, which we assumed N1, and moles of AB3, which is N2. We have to find out N1 and N2 basically. We will draw two columns. On one side we will write apply POAC for A atoms, POAC on A atoms. On other side apply POAC on B atoms. Since atoms are conserved, we can apply POAC basically, and POAC says that moles of A atom in reactant, which is A2, should be equal to moles of A atom in AB plus moles of A atom in AB3, which are on product side. Simply we'll put the values. So moles of A atoms in A2 is 2 times 2.5, here 1 times N1, because there is one atom of A, and 1 times N2, 1 times N2. So N1 plus N2 will come out to be 5. This will be our equation number 1. Similarly for B, we'll write moles of B atoms in B2, which is on reactant side, should be equal to moles of B atom in AB plus moles of B atom in AB3, which are on product side. We'll put the values. So moles of B atom is 2 atom of B multiplied by moles, which is 3.5. Here we have 1 times N1 plus 3 times N2. We'll further solve it. It is 7 is equal to N1 plus 3 N2. So N1 plus 3 N2 is equal to 7. This is our equation number 2. We will solve 1 and 2 to get N1 and N2 respectively. On further solving, N1 plus N2 is equal to 5. This is equation 1, and N1 plus 3 N2 is equal to 7. This is equation 2. We'll simplify equation 2 further. So it will come out to be N1 plus N2 plus 2N2 is equal to 7. The value of N1 plus N2 we know, 5 plus 2N2 is 7, 2N2 is 2, and 2 is 1 mole. Now put the value of N2 in equation 1. Put value in equation 1. So it will come out to be N1 plus 1 is equal to 5, N1 is equal to 4 moles simply. We will further write moles of AB, which we assumed N1 is equal to 4 moles, and moles of AB3, which we assumed as N2, came out to be 1 mole. So this is simply the answer. Hope you all understand this. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. Today we are going to talk about stoichiometry. It's very important concept. We'll write that it refers to the quantitative study of the relationship between amount of reactants used and product formed in a chemical reaction. So basically stoichiometry is the quantitative study of relationship between amounts of reactant used and product formed, right? We'll write A plus B giving C plus DD. This is how we represent a chemical reaction. In this case, small a, small b, small c, small d are stoichiometric coefficients of capital A, capital B, capital C and capital D respectively. So basically whatever number is written adjacent to reactant or product will be the stoichiometric coefficient. So we wrote AA plus BB giving CC plus DD. This is how we represent the chemical reaction. Here stoichiometric coefficients small a, small b, small c and small d represent the ratio of moles or volumes in case of gases, ratio of moles or volumes in which reactants react and product is formed. So basically stoichiometric coefficient represent the ratio of moles in which reactants react and in which the product is formed in a chemical reaction. We'll write the relationship. This is very important, which we are gonna write now. So moles of A reacted divided by small a, which is the stoichiometric coefficient, is equal to moles of B reacted. B is on reactant side, so moles of B reacted divided by small b is equal to moles of C formed, because it is on product side, so C will be formed divided by small c is equal to moles of D formed divided by small d. This is a very important relationship you need to remember. Basically we divided moles of reactant and product with their respective stoichiometric coefficients. Now moving on, we'll write limiting reagent LR and excess reagent ER. This is also very important. So we'll write first about limiting reagent. We'll write that in a chemical reaction, a reactant which is consumed first and limits the formation of product is called LR. So basically which is consumed first and limits the formation of product is LR. Now excess reagent. So we will write in a chemical reaction a reactant which is present in excess amount and gets left after the reaction is over. So basically in a reaction there will be one limiting reagent, the other will be the excess reagent. Excess reagent will be left after the reaction is completed, also known as ER. Now we will write finding the limiting reagent LR. Now we will discuss the procedure how to find the limiting reagent in a given reaction. So we will write few steps. First, in a chemical reaction, if data of more than one reactant is given, then we'll write few steps. Step number 1, find number of moles of all reactants. Using the given data. So basically in step number 1 we will find the number of moles of all the reactants. In step number 2 we'll write then divide moles of reactants with their respective stoichiometric coefficient. In step number 2 we'll divide moles of reactant with their respective stoichiometric coefficients. Step number 3, this is the final step, we'll write the reactant having minimum ratio of mole to stoichiometric coefficient SC, mole to stoichiometric coefficient, will be the LR. So this is the way how we find the LR. So basically, if data of more than one reactant is given, find number of moles of all reactants. Step 2, then divide moles of reactant with their respective stoichiometric coefficient. And step 3, the reactant with minimum ratio of mole to stoichiometric coefficient will be the LR. Now moving further, we'll write a note. This is an important note that we can use limiting reagent, we can use LR to find or to calculate the amount of product formed as well as the amount of excess reagent left in the chemical reaction. So basically we can use the data of limiting reagent to calculate amount of product found as well as the amount of excess reagent left unreacted in a chemical reaction. Now we'll solve a problem so we better understand. 20 gram of calcium reacts with 96 gram of oxygen to form calcium oxide. Find A part limiting reagent and excess reagent, B part mass of product formed, C part mass of excess reagent left unreacted after completion of reaction. Pause the video and solve by yourself. Now we'll solve it. Here Ca reacts with O2 to form CaO. This is the basic reaction. Here we'll balance it. Here 2 oxygen atoms are present, so multiply by 2. Here 1 and here again 2. So we have balanced the reaction. Now we'll write the weight. Here weight of calcium provided is 20 gram, weight of O2 provided is 96 gram. To identify LR, we have to first of all find the limiting reagent, so we can solve all the parts. To identify LR, step number 1, convert the given data of reactants into moles. This was the step 1 we discussed earlier. Step number 2, divide moles of reactants with their respective stoichiometric coefficient SC. This was step number 2. Stoichiometric coefficient, basically divide moles to their respective stoichiometric coefficient. Step number 3, the reactant with minimum value of mole to stoichiometric coefficient will be the LR. Now we can solve the problem. We'll write Ca plus O2 gives CaO, balancing it 2, 1, 2. The weight which was provided, here it was 20 gram calcium and 96 gram of O2. Now we'll calculate the moles of each reactant. Here it will be 20 divided by 40, which is 1 divided by 2. In this case it is 96 divided by 2 times of 16, it is 3. Now mole to stoichiometric coefficient ratio, in this case it will be 1 by 2 divided by stoichiometric coefficient, which is 2, so it will come out to be 1 by 4. In this case 3 divided by 1, so this is 3. Here the minimum value is for calcium, this is minimum, so this will be the LR. We can write answer of A part, that limiting reagent is calcium Ca and excessive reagent or excess reagent in this reaction is O2. Now moving to next parts. Again writing the reaction Ca plus O2 giving CaO. Right here 2, 1, 2. This is 2, Ca plus O2 giving CaO. Here weight which was provided 20 gram, here 96 grams. Moles we calculated earlier, 20 divided by 40, 1 by 2. Since calcium is limiting reagent, so we'll use the data for calcium to solve the problems, calcium Lr, right? So we wrote earlier that Lr determines amount of product formed, right? So we can write moles of Ca reacted, it's on reactant side, divided by 2, which is stoichiometric coefficient, is equal to moles of CaO formed, it is on product side, divided by stoichiometric coefficient 2. Now putting the values, moles of Ca reacted is 1 by 2, moles of CaO formed, 1 by 2 is equal to moles of CaO formed. Therefore weight of CaO formed will be equal to moles multiplied by molecular weight 1 by 2 multiplied by 40 for calcium plus 16 for oxygen. It will come out to be 28 gram. This will be the answer for part B. Now moving to part C, which is an interesting question. We had to find the mass of excessive reagent left unreacted, right? So Ca plus O2 giving CaO, weight 20 gram, here 96 gram, which was provided in the question, moles 20 divided by 40, which is 1 by 2. We calculated only for calcium because it is Lr. So it will determine the amount of other reactant used. We will write moles of Ca reacted divided by 2 is equal to moles of O2 reacted divided by 1, which is stoichiometric coefficient on reactant side. Now putting the values, 1 by 2 divided by 2 is equal to moles of O2 reacted. So moles of O2 reacted will come out to be 1 by 4. Therefore weight of O2 reacted will be 1 by 4 multiplied by molecular weight, which is 2 times 16. It will come out to be 8 grams. Since we have to find unreacted weight, so we'll write weight of O2 given, which was given in question, 96 gram. Weight of O2 used or O2 reacted will be equal to 8 gram. We calculated on last page. Therefore weight of O2 left is equal to 96 minus 8 gram, which will be 88 gram. So this will be the answer for part C. Basically the weight of excess reagent left, weight of ER left. So this is pretty much it. Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. Today we are gonna talk about percentage yield and percentage purity. First of all, we will discuss about percentage yield. We will write that it is the percentage ratio of actual yield to theoretical yield. So percentage yield is basically the percentage ratio of actual yield to theoretical yield. Also we'll write that when a reaction is carried out in laboratory, we get only actual yield. So in laboratory we only get the actual yield, whereas theoretical yield is obtained by using stoichiometry. So basically in laboratory we get actual yield, whereas for theoretical yield we will use stoichiometry. Now discussing further, we will write the formula for percentage yield. So percentage yield is equal to actual yield divided by theoretical yield multiplied by 100. Actual yield divided by theoretical yield multiplied by 100. We will also solve problems so you better understand. Also we'll write a point here that the percentage yield of any product is also equal to the percentage extent of the reaction. So the percentage extent of reaction is equal to percentage yield of the product simply. Now further we'll solve a problem. Here 60 gram of C2H6 burns in air to produce 88 gram of CO2. Calculate theoretical yield of CO2 and percentage yield of CO2. Pause the video and solve by yourself. Now we'll solve it. Here first we'll write the reaction C2H6 burns in air. For air we'll simply write O2 and forms CO2 and water. Balancing the reaction. First balancing carbon atoms, then hydrogen and then oxygen. Here there are 7, so 7 by 2. Now the weight given for C2H6 is 60 gram and weight of CO2 formed is 88 gram. Now moles for C2H6 is 60 divided by 2 times 12 plus 6 times 1, which is 2. Here 1 is the stoichiometric coefficient, so we'll write moles of C2H6 reacted divided by 1 should be equal to moles of CO2 formed divided by 2, which is stoichiometric coefficient for CO2. Now putting the values, moles of CO2 formed will be 2 times 2, which is 4. So moles of CO2 formed is 4. Hence weight of CO2 formed will be equal to 4 times 12 plus 16 times 2. So it will come out to be 4 times 44, which is 176 grams. So we'll write the answer for part A, which was theoretical yield. We have to find out the theoretical yield. It is 176 gram, right? Now we'll solve the second part. Also we'll write that percentage yield is basically actual yield divided by theoretical yield multiplied by 100. This is the formula for percentage yield, right? In second part we have to find percentage yield, simply putting the values. Actual yield for CO2 given was 88. Theoretical yield, which we calculated through stoichiometry, is 176 multiplied by 100. Answer will be 50%. So this simply is the answer for part B. Now moving to percentage purity. This is also important concept. For percentage purity we will write definition that it represents the percentage of pure compound or pure sample present in an impure sample. So percentage of pure compound present in impure sample. We will write that percentage purity of a specific compound or a specific sample present in an impure sample can be written as, we will write the formula simply, that percentage purity will be equal to weight of the compound, which is the pure sample, weight of the compound divided by total weight of compound, which is impure sample. Total weight of compound, impure sample, multiplied by 100. So this is simply the formula for percentage purity. We will solve problems so you better understand. Just remember this formula. Now moving on, we have a problem here which you have to solve. Here we are given when 400 gram of CaCO3 is heated, 88 gram of CO2 is produced. Find out percentage purity of CaCO3 in sample. Pause the video and solve by yourself. Now we will solve it. Here CaCO3 on heating produces CaO and CO2. Here weight given is 400 gram for CaCO3. For CO2 produced it is 88 gram. We will write moles of CO2 which is equal to 88 divided by molecular weight, which is 44. So it will come out to be 2, right? Here stoichiometry for each of them is 1. We know that moles of CaCO3 consumed, since it's on reactant side, so consumed divided by stoichiometric coefficient, which is 1, should be equal to moles of CO2 produced. Since it's on product side, so CO2 produced divided by 1 is stoichiometric coefficient for CO2. Simply putting the values, moles of CaCO3 consumed will come out to be 2. So we can write, therefore weight of CaCO3 consumed will be equal to 2 multiplied by molecular weight of CaCO3, which is 100, so 200 gram. We have to find percentage purity for CaCO3, right? So we'll write that percentage purity is equal to weight of pure sample divided by total weight of sample, which is basically the impure one multiplied by 100. Now putting the values, weight of pure sample is 200 gram, we calculated on last page, divided by 400, which was given in question, multiplied by 100. It will come out to be 50%. So this will simply be the answer. This is basically percentage purity of CaCO3 in sample. So this is pretty much it. Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. Today we are gonna talk about percentage composition. We'll write that it represents the percentage by mass of constituents. Constituent can be atoms or molecule. Constituent is basically a part of the whole compound. So percentage composition represents the percentage by mass of constituents present in the compound. This is the simple definition. Also we'll write the formula. Let mass percentage of a constituent in compound is equal to atomicity of constituent multiplied by mass of constituent divided by molecular mass of compound multiplied by 100. This is the simple formula. This is very important formula. Atomicity multiplied by mass of constituent divided by molecular mass of compound multiplied by 100. You need to remember this. Also here the term atomicity is basically the number of atoms of constituent present in the compound. Basically number of atoms of constituent can be atoms or molecules present in the compound, right? Once again we will see the formula. Mass percentage of constituent in a compound is atomicity multiplied by mass of constituent divided by molecular mass of compound multiplied by 100. And atomicity is number of atoms of constituent present in compound. Now moving further, we will write an example here. Calculate percentage of C atoms present in CH4. So we'll solve it here simply. We have CH4, the molecular mass of CH4, 12 plus 4 times 1, which is 16 gram per mole, right? Also we have to calculate for C atoms. So for C the atomic mass is 12 gram per mole, right? Also atomicity for C in CH4. Atomicity means number of atoms. So number of atoms of C in CH4 is only 1, right? Now simply we'll write the formula. Percentage of C in CH4 will be equal to atomicity multiplied by atomic mass of C of C divided by molecular mass of CH4, which is the compound here, molecular mass of CH4 multiplied by 100. Now simply putting the values, so this is 1 atomicity, atomic mass of C is 12 gram per mole and this is 16 gram per mole multiplied by 100. On solving it will come out to be 75%. So this is the answer. Now one more thing, we will check if this answer is correct or not. So we'll write here, this compound CH4 is composed of C and H atoms. So we'll write, we have calculated percentage of C, now we'll calculate percentage of H in CH4. So basically atomicity, which is 4 multiplied by atomic mass, which is 1 divided by 16 multiplied by 100. It came out to be 25%. So now we'll simply add these two values, add percentage of C and percentage of H in CH4. Right, on adding we'll get 75% plus 25%, which is 100%. So if the summation comes out to be 100%, means the calculated value is correct, our answer is correct here. Right, now moving further, we'll solve another example. Calculate percentage of D atoms present in CD4. This is another compound CD4, we'll solve it. Here CD4 molecular mass for this compound is 12 gram per mole for carbon, and for deuterium is 2 gram per mole multiplied by 4, which is 20 gram per mole. The atomic mass for deuterium is 2 gram per mole. Also atomicity of deuterium in CD4 is 4. There are 4 atoms, so atomicity is 4. We'll write the formula, percentage of D atoms in CD4 will be equal to atomicity, which is 4 multiplied by atomic mass, which is 2 divided by molecular mass of CD4 20 multiplied by 100. On solving it will come out to be 40%. So this is the answer. Now we'll check if this is correct or not. So this compound here CD4 is composed of carbon and deuterium atoms. We'll calculate percentage of C atoms in CD4 is equal to atomicity 1 multiplied by atomic mass 12 divided by molecular mass of compound 20 multiplied by 100. It came out to be 60%. Now adding them, on adding percentage of D and percentage of C in CD4, it is 40% plus 60%. Summation is 100%, means our answer is correct. Right, now we'll solve another problem. For the compound CuSO4.5H2O, calculate percentage of O atoms present in the compound. B part, percentage of SO4 minus 2 ions present in the compound. C part, percentage of water molecules present in the compound. Mass of Cu is 63.5 gram per mole, for sulfur 32 gram per mole, oxygen 16 gram per mole. Pause the video and solve by yourself. Now we'll solve it. Here we have CuSO4.5H2O. This is the main compound. We'll calculate molecular mass for this compound, which is 63.5 plus 32 plus 4 times 16 plus 5 times molecular mass for water, which is 18. On calculating value, it will come out to be 249.5 gram per mole. Also we'll write percentage of a constituent in a compound is equal to atomicity multiplied by mass of constituent, atomicity multiplied by mass of the constituent divided by molecular mass of the compound or molar mass of compound multiplied by 100. Right, this is the formula. Now we'll solve part A. We have to find percentage of O atoms in CuSO4.5H2O. Right, so we'll first write the atomicity of O in CuSO4.5H2O. So number of O atoms here is 4 plus 5, which is basically 9. Also, mass of O is 16 gram per mole. Now we have all the values. Simply percentage of O in CuSO4.5H2O will be equal to atomicity, which is 9 multiplied by atomic mass of O, which is 16, divided by molecular mass of whole compound, which is 249.5. On solving, it will come out to be 57.7%. This is the answer simply. Now B part, we have to find percentage of SO4 minus 2 ions in CuSO4.5H2O, right? So here we have CuSO4.5H2O. We will find where SO4 minus 2 is present. So this compound we have CuSO4 and 5H2O. In CuSO4 we have this compound is composed of Cu plus 2 and SO4 minus 2 ions. So this SO4 minus 2 ions, for this we have to calculate the number of ions. Now moving further, we will write CuSO4.5H2O. Here atomicity of SO4 minus 2 and mass of SO4 minus 2. So we'll write the values. Atomicity here is 1 and mass of SO4 minus 2 is 32 for sulfur plus 4 times 16, which is 96 gram per mole, right? Now we'll simply write the formula. Percentage of SO4 minus 2 in CuSO4.5H2O will be equal to atomicity, which is here 1 multiplied by mass of SO4 minus 2, which is 96, and the molecular mass of this whole compound is 249.5 multiplied by 100. On solving, it will come out to be 38.47%. This is the answer. Now moving to the last part, we have to calculate percentage of H2O molecules in CuSO4.5H2O. So we'll write where H2O molecules are present in this compound. So CuSO4.5H2O, this is composed of CuSO4 plus 5 H2O molecules. Here atomicity of H2O in CuSO4.5H2O and mass of H2O, we will write these values. Here atomicity is 5 and mass of H2O is 2 times 1 plus 16, which is 18 gram per mole. Now simply write the formula. Percentage of H2O in CuSO4.5H2O will be equal to atomicity, which is 5 multiplied by mass of water, which is 18 gram per mole, divided by molecular mass of compound 249.5 gram per mole multiplied by 100. On solving, it will come out to be 36.07%. Hope you understand this.